About last year, I think. I'm not really sure when. One of my friends started watching JoJo, and then he watched all of it in like a few months. Then he recommended it to me, so we watched. Well, he started watching with another friend part one, and I wanted to watch them with them, so I watched part one too. Then we both watched. I mean, all three of us watched part two, and I was really enjoying it. But we weren't watching part three, so I decided to watch it myself. Well, actually, we watched up to like episode 7 or 6. But yeah, as I said, we weren't watching part 3. We kind of stopped, so I wanted to watch it myself, and I did. But I couldn't really do it, so I watched up to episode 11. And for a while, I actually thought I would like never enjoy JoJo Part 3 again at all. And well, during all that, I was actually checking out the manga a bit. I opened the part 1 manga, read about 15 chapters, then I read a little bit more, I read up to chapter 20 pretty much, and that was it. Until way later this year, I am pretty sure about 2 months ago already, or 3 months ago, I read the rest of part 1. It was very fast and fun. And I read part 2 in like half a week, then I read on the other half of the week, part 3 entirely, then on the next 4 days I read part 4, the other 4 days I read part 5, and then yeah, I read part 6 and 7 a bit slowly. But yeah, like that was so fast. I read most of JoJo, at least all that has been adapted into the anime already, and damn, it was great. I haven't read much JoJolion yet. I've been busy reading another manga. So yeah, I just wanted to chat about JoJo a little bit and what I think of each part. Also, part one is not as bad as I remember. Actually, it's not like I even thought it was bad. I actually liked it, and I like it more now that I think about it, like because of what happens later. It feels better after knowing like what happens to Dio and Jonathan's body and every other Joestar after this, knowing how it all began. It feels nice that Dio was just a jerk. He wanted the money, so he tortured Jonathan for his childhood, killed his dog, kissed his girlfriend, and yeah, pretty much ruined his life. And then they both grow up, and Jonathan goes to beat him up because Dio is a vampire now. I like Dio. I don't think it's boring. I think it's actually very fun to watch as a villain. He's just so evil, and like he's so evil is it's kind of silly. He has this weird chimera creatures. He has this bunch of zombies. He has this weird Chinese guy with him for some reason. I don't like that guy, by the way. He's kind of annoying. So yeah, over the course of the adventure, Jonathan just meets Speedwagon, and suddenly he becomes his friend. That's so freaking weird. Jonathan's dad dies, and then they meet separately, and Jonathan learns the ripple. So that's pretty cool. I like Hammond as an ability. It's pretty cool. But there's not much you can do with it, and that's no more noticeable in like part two than here. But yeah, as far as it is in part one, it's fine. I like it. It feels unique, actually. And yeah, there's not much I can actually say about the characters. I think my favorite character in part one is just Dio, and then it's like Jonathan, because he's a nice guy. Okay, poor Jonathan. Too bad he dies. Spoilers. Spoiler for chapter 44 of JoJo, by the way. Yeah, because Jonathan dies on that one. The ship blows up and Irina escapes with a baby and another baby in her womb. Yeah. Part 1 ends in kind of a sad way, actually. it's It feels like a tragedy. And well, when I remember it, it makes me feel kinda sad about it. And again, it's not a bad part. A lot of people consider it boring. I guess it can be boring. But, I think I will always enjoy this part actually. It's just fun to see Dio and Jonathan grow up, and then, well, all the silly stuff that happens on the second half. It's not that silly, but it kind of is. Like, I find it funny when they introduce Jack the Ripper, and it says like nobody ever knew who he was, but Dio knows. What? That's so silly. Dio is the only one that knows who Jack the Ripper really is. Wow, incredible. It's just silly, and there's also Tarkus and Bruford, and Zeppeli just gets ripped in half for his death. That's crazy, and he turns old. Well, I guess it's because he isn't using Hammond anymore. This like two bullies get crushed, and Tarkus drinks their blood. It becomes weird. It gets weirder, and it gets better later on. But yeah, certainly part two, it's better. It's better than the first part, and that's why I'm gonna talk about that one now. I don't think I'm gonna talk about all the 7 parts. There's just too much to say because I really enjoy those later parts. But yeah, part two is great. It's definitely better. Uh, I really enjoy it. Joseph is amazing. I like Caesar. I like Lisa. I like seeing the characters from part one, Speedwagon, Straits, Arena. Yeah, I think that's about it. I really enjoy him. Smokey, the Pillar Man, Santana. Well, he's a Pillar Man, but I cannot forget about that because I just think of the other 3. But anyway, it's just great. Here's when it actually gets bizarre. Like, part 1 was kind of bizarre, but part 2 is just crazy. Joseph runs away, and he's just a jerk, pretty much. But he's still likable somehow. I don't get how Araki did it, but Joseph is likable. Great guy. He dresses as a lady. There are Nazis on part 2, and that's very silly. I enjoy that. It's funny. Reminds me of Indiana Jones, actually. Part 2 reminds me of that. Like, there's Nazis, and they bring out this evil, which is some Pillar Man, and Joseph is just, like, with them, I guess, teaming up with them just to defeat those Pillar Men. And, like, he respects Stroheim, and Stroheim respects him too. I like Stroheim, by the way. Cool guy. It's very funny. I like that he blows up and suddenly is alive later. How does that work? Well, German science, I guess. I really enjoy part 2. But there's one problem I have with it, which I wish it wasn't there. I think the part could be longer. I think it's very well paced. The only time I don't feel like it goes as fast as most of it is when they fight ACDC. Yeah, well, at the end of the training, they fight ACDC, and then Susie-Q gets possessed. That's the part I don't really care about compared to all the rest of the part. Like, I remember the beginning as like, oh, that was funny, and the end, oh, that was cool too. A bunch of parts, but like that middle section of part 2 is like slowed down, and I don't enjoy that much. I do enjoy the training though, the one where they climb the tower. And by the way, Caesar, I like Caesar. He's a better Zeppeli than Zeppeli from part 1. Actually, part 2 feels like a remake of part 1, kinda. There's a bunch of similar stuff, but it still is different enough that it can be called its own part and not a remake. Anyway, Caesar dies, and that's sad, and I really enjoy that scene. It's pretty good. And so Joseph then fights Wham. I like Wham. He's the best of the 3 Pillarmen. The thing I said about Stroheim, that like they respect each other, it's the same thing about Wham. Yeah. And yeah, then Cars is like the most evil guy ever, and so he turns invincible. I mean, and then he goes to space. The end. Good stuff. I really find it funny how lucky Joseph is. It doesn't bother me. But yeah, I wish this part was just a little bit longer to develop Caesar and Lisa more. Because like Caesar is there, I like him, but he doesn't. I don't feel like he does much. He's a rival to Joseph for a while, and then they train, and then they fight Wham, and Caesar dies. Well, that's skipping a lot of stuff, I guess, and their dialogues and their great interactions and his flashback. But I feel like there could be more between those two. Like it's great. It's pretty great already, but it could be better. I think. Anyway, I'm not sure if I have something else to say. Oh, I do. Yeah, I just remember the ending of part two. It's one I like. And by the way, I read the manga. I think the anime is better not for the ending, where they reveal Joseph didn't die. And what I like better in the anime is how they finished the part. Like I feel like on the manga it's all hurried up. Like Joseph is revealed to be alive, and then, well, everyone's surprised. He says he married Susie Q, and then it's just suddenly an epilogue of the characters. What happened to Speedwagon? What happened to Rena? What happened to Smokey? What happened to, well, Stroheim? Yeah, the characters. But I feel like it does it so fast that I feel like it does it so fast that uh, it feels like it's hurrying up to end. Yeah, that's kind of how it feels like, because after that, yeah, it's suddenly 1980s, and old Joseph is arriving in Japan to meet his daughter, or going into the plane. I actually don't remember. I think he's going to the plane while listening to the Beatles. Yeah, and that's just crazy. Like, what, so fast? I was saying like 6 pages, 5 pages. I felt like it could have taken a bit longer, because I'm pretty sure Karis's death and all the other stuff happens in the same chapter. And of course, these chapters are like just 20 pages. Yeah, I just think it could have been longer. But other than that, part 2 is just great. Very good part. When I do rank the JoJo parts, that one's on like the bottom half, but I still really enjoy it. Like most JoJo parts are good anyway. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna talk about part 3 now. I really enjoyed part 3. It was kind of boring at the beginning. Like, I like it. Okay, I still enjoyed it. It's fun to see them meet Jotaro, and the Kakyoin's battle, and Polnareff's battle, and the beetle, that flying beetle, Tower of Grey. Yeah. But like, what I find boring about that section is just the stands. They're boring, and the villains too. That old guy that had the beetle, yeah, he's boring. I don't care. Monkey that has strength, I don't care. Boring. It's just a smart monkey with a creepy scene where he stalks a girl. Kakyoin is fine. I like him, and Polnareff too, because we get to know them later. More Polnareff especially, but like the captain, I forgot what he's called. The guy that has the stand Dark Blue Moon. Yeah, what do you know about him? Well, all I know is that he's stupid and that's why he died. Yeah, he sucks. Those stands are boring and the characters are boring. The guy that has yellow temperance is also boring, I think. I forgot what he was called. But yeah, I think it starts getting better once the stand Justice appears. Enya's stand. That's just a fun arc. Everything's creepy, everything has holes in it. There's a weird corpse. Polnareff goes to the bathroom. Yeah, cool stuff. Oh yeah, Nafdol died. I forgot to mention that. He got shot through the head by Whole Horse, best character. So yeah, like Justice. That arc is, I think, when it starts getting better. The stuff before that, it's fine. I was enjoying it, but it was just fine. But as I said, Justice onward, it gets better. Uh, it feels weird that Enya was the one that sent the first stand users, and then she just gets killed because of the, what's it called? The thing that she has on the head. Whatever, and then just or was it that did Steely Dan kill Enya? I don't remember. Steely Dan is the guy that has the stand lovers, the guy that gets inside Joseph's head. There's some weird stuff here, actually. Yeah, the toilet jokes. There's a pig in the toilet. They have some silly interaction too. Polnareff laughs with Anya for some reason. Whole Horse is actually also weirdly funny. The monkey is also funny, the orangutan. I think it was called Forever, but they don't say that in the manga. Uh, but yes, they said the part just gets better later on. The Judgment arc is pretty good, and at about that point, I was realizing, yeah, a lot of these arcs have to do with Polnareff. They like Polnareff. Why wouldn't you? He's great. But like, I wanna see a Kakyoin arc. I wanna see a Joseph arc. Or a Jotaro arc. But no, here have another Polnareff one. Why not? There's a bunch of Jotaro ones actually, and the most times they're also all together or it's a duo of characters. Like the Wheel of Fortune arc, that's all of them pretty much. But a lot of them was just Polnareff alone. Poor Kakyoin gets like one arc, I think. That's 13, where yeah, they just go into the dream and the baby is shit at the end. It's great, good arc. But poor Kakyoin, I like him. I would have liked to seen him more or know more about him, but yeah, I feel bad about him. I think after gets reintroduced, a pretty funny scene, just because I remember the anime, which I didn't even watch. I just know how he sounds when he says, "Yes, I am." It's pretty funny. uh, it's pretty good stuff too. I enjoy that arc. Hail to you. uh, and then they just go to a submarine, and that arc is also pretty good. Polnareff and Kakyoin, I think, have a pretty great handshake at the beginning. It's pretty crazy arc. They also destroyed all the teeth from that lady. That's pretty sad. But then it's when they get to Egypt, is when part 3 gets really good. Like at this point, I was having fun. I was enjoying this. I was reading this at the speed of light already. But when you get to Egypt and find Down, it gets good. Iggy joins. He looks like a weird, realistic dog. It's pretty crazy, and I really like how he looks. They fight Down, pretty good arc. Then they fight Oingo Boingo. That's a very funny arc. They fight Miraya, pretty good arc too. They also fight the sword, Anubis. That was just like Jotaro versus Polnareff. Again, good arc. Darby, good arc. The second Oingo Boingo arc was also very good. All of those arcs in Egypt are just great, especially the Darby one. The Gambler, not the Gamer. The Gamer is also pretty good, but I prefer the Gambler. It got crazy at the end. And it's all good stuff. Then Iggy fights a bird, and also, by the way, he suddenly had a design change. That was very weird. Like, I knew how he looked, but like I thought it was gonna be more gradual, that change, instead of so sudden. I'm pretty sure it's just suddenly in the middle of the Mariah arc, he's just suddenly with a different design. It's kind of weird. But yeah, Iggy fights Pet Shop, and after that's when the arc changes in tone. Almost. Iggy lost a leg. Yeah, that's pretty serious. And then they go to Dio. Pretty exciting. To Dio's mansion. Which I forgot to mention Dio. I really enjoy how Dio appears in a silhouette for most of the part. It's pretty great, especially because we already know who Dio is. And it feels great to see him just being silhouette, planning stuff, being very threatening. Like he threatens Whole Horse. Yeah, that was a good scene. But yeah, they go to Dio's mansion, they fight a gamer. Pretty fun arc. By the way, Joseph is just a great character. I just remember at the end of the arc where he just says, "Yes, yes, yes, oh my god." Good stuff. But then after that arc is when they fight Vanilla Ice, and that's when it gets crazy. Like, this was pretty fun. It was pretty lighthearted, I would say. But Vanilla Ice is just creepy. He dies, he gets revived, his own stand eats itself, and that was just so creepy when I saw it. And then just, well, Abdul and Polnareff and Iggy just walk inside this weird maze, they beat up this guy, and then they just read that weird text that just says, "Don't look behind," or or you die. And like it's so crazy because suddenly Abdul dies. Yeah, it's like what? He dies, and you don't even get a chance to think about it. He dies, and yeah, the battle begins that way. So Polnareff and Iggy have an awful battle against Vanilla Ice, and barely, they win. And even then, like you still have Dio to fight with. If Vanilla Ice is as strong, how strong will Dio be? And he's pretty strong. It has a good arc. Dio's World, I think it was called. It's like 16 chapters long. And I really enjoy how Dio's stand is a secret. Like they don't tell you. It kind of looks like teleportation, but it isn't. Of course, he's just stopping time for a few seconds to grab you and move you away, or he just runs somewhere else or throws stuff. Yeah, like he went behind the whole horse. He pulled Polnareff under the stair. Uh, he didn't let Polnareff go up the stairs. Yeah, and by the way, Polnareff lost a lot of stuff in that Vanilla Ice battle. He lost his fingers. He lost a part of his leg, a part of his foot. Poor Polnareff. At least he didn't lose his great hair. But yeah, once the other fellas arrive, yeah, that's when it gets more serious because Dio just runs away pretty much, and it's now night time. Even though the background's still white, it's night, and that actually has happened for a while in JoJo. And like part two, the background is white, but it's night. So yeah, this Egypt fight is like the best fight in JoJo so far. It was the best fight on JoJo so far, at that point. But yeah, it's like Dio stops time and Kakyoin dies. I feel so bad for him. Like poor Kakyoin, I didn't really get to know him. But yeah, he dies. Then Joseph dies, and Polnareff and Jotaro get to fight Dio, and slowly Jotaro learns he can stop time and starts doing it too. And by the end, Jotaro stops time longer than Dio, and so he just punches him, and Dio just blows up, and that's great. Feels crazy to actually see a villain in a shonen manga blow up into blood. Like when I remember Dragon Ball or Naruto, at least as far as I read, or One Piece, the villain never like gets destroyed like that. Like especially Dragon Ball, because yeah, Dragon Ball is violent, where the villain mainly gets blown up or vaporized. But here, though, Dio blew up. His top half of the body blew up. Yeah. Then Joseph revives pretty much, and everything's fine. It's a good arc. Also, there's a road roller. Yeah. It's just good. But here, since three of the team members died, here's one of my problems with part three, and that's just the Stardust Crusaders themselves. I feel like I only know three of them. Uh, Joseph, because I knew him on part two, and he has a lot of dialogue on part three. Jotaro, because he's a protagonist, and yeah, we learn a lot about him, why he is like that, how he actually feels about stuff instead of just being always serious. And Polnareff, because he has like half the arcs on part 3. But like I feel like I don't know much or anything of Kakyoin, Avdol, or Iggy. I really feel bad for them because they died, and I really wish they would have stayed alive and all the Stardust Crusaders would have lived happily ever after. Just imagine that on like part 5, the Stardust Crusaders like just come to Italy or whatever. I'm not saying I wanted that, but like, it would have been nice to see them all together or whatever. Or Avdol and old Joseph on part 4, that would have been cool too. Or Kakyoin and Jotaro on part 6. Imagine that duo. They're pretty cool. uh, but yeah, again, as I said, I wish they wouldn't have died. It does make it sad, and it feels kind of bittersweet that yeah, you still won even though you lost 3 friends on the way. Oh, and by the way, like Avdol isn't here for like a third of the part, and same with Kakyoin. Like, why? Why did he get rid of them? Why? I don't get it. Like, Kakyoin is not there at all on the Egypt arcs. Sadly, I wish he was, but he's just not there. Well, I actually don't think I have another problem. Oh, I kinda do. Part 3 ends with the characters leaving, and I'm pretty sure Joseph is listening to the Beatles again. Um, and I kind of feel like it goes on too fast again. It doesn't feel like much of a conclusion. The part ends with uh, Dios, who? Dio's legs just burning in the sun, and you see the members that died in the sky, and then Jotaro, Joseph, and Polnareff say goodbye to each other in the airport, and they leave on this very cool pose, and that's the end of the part. Yeah, like I like it, but like, there could have been a bit more. I'm pretty sure the anime adds like a photo, and they look at that photo at the end, and that makes it feel more conclusive, and that's something I would have liked here, especially because that photo just suddenly exists on part 5. Anyway, I really enjoy part 3. Definitely the best of the first 3 parts. And I feel like I suddenly have the urge of watching one of the arcs I do like I don't know, the Sun, or Oingo Boingo, any arc, really. It'd just be great to watch it like that. It is made to be that way. It's episodic, and I think he did it well. Sadly, kind of feels like you can skip a bunch of the arcs, but yeah, I still enjoy all of them pretty much, especially the Egypt part. And one day, eventually, I should watch the anime of part 3 some other time. Well, so far the I guess the ranking would be part 3, part 2, and part 1 in like best to worst. That saying part 1 is not bad. I like it, but yeah, part 3 is the best one. It really is like a journey around the world. Pretty good stuff. But yeah, that's all I have to say. I think. I hopefully didn't forget anything. So next time I should be talking about part 4, 5, and 6 maybe. Hopefully by the time I do record like a part 7 video, I should have finished part 8 so I can talk about it. But yeah, I guess I'll see you later.